As an educated young American, it seems to me that we can learn a great deal from the wisdom of those who led this nation in the past. People to the far right and people to the far left continue to show a refusal to actually sit down and talk to one another in a manner that proves helpful. With President Dwight D. Eisenhower, I despise people who go to the gutter on either the right or the left and hurl rocks at those in the center. Thus far, my greatest disappointment in President Obama's term as this nation's leader revolves around his failure to honor his campaign promise to change the way Washington does business by working across the aisle and providing more transparency to the American public. As an American citizen, I would like to see people with varied viewpoints sit down in a civilized manner to combine the best of their ideas to pass legislation that benefits the hard-working men and women of our nation. Why does holding such discussions prove so difficult? Many American citizens have shown outrage at August town hall meetings, and the response of the media has varied. Some suggest these dissenting voices are simply angry mobs organized to present an ideological agenda. Others praise the voices as Americans exercising their greatest democratic privilege. Regardless of one's stance on these sessions, nothing can get accomplished if we only shout at each other or call people names. Both sides need to show civility and maturity in expressing the approval for or dissent of proposed legislation. Still, the frustration expressed by many people has been building to a boiling point due to issues only partially related to proposals surrounding health care reform. The belief that our government is spending too much of taxpayer money to bail out businesses, banks, organizations, and certain individuals who did not operate with responsible financial prudence has fueled a fire in many non-political people such as myself. Think about it. The average citizen has not been forgiven his or her debts, but major corporations and banks received billions of the average citizen's tax dollars. Does it make sense? May we not listen to the voices of our leaders from years past? President Rutherford B. Hayes advised, "Let every man, every corporation, and especially let every village, town, and city, every country and state get out of debt and keep out of debt. It is the debtor that is ruined by hard times." Yet we continue to run up our national debt at a perilous rate. Ayn Rand, the great author, noted, "Government help to business is just as disastrous as government persecution. The only way a government can be of service to national prosperity is by keeping its hands off." Yet our government continues to think it has the right to keep its hands in every aspect of America's day-to-day operations. As a result, many recognize that the policies our nation continues to enact through stimulus and through legislative policy will necessitate an increase in taxes. The proposal of any type of tax increase in the midst of such out-of-control government spending finds the majority in this country siding with President Ronald Reagan, who once proclaimed, "The problem is not that people are taxed too little. The problem is that government spends too much." Many Americans fear widespread, massive government spending because they know from where ultimately the money will come: their pocketbooks. These Americans agree with President Calvin Coolidge that collecting more taxes than is absolutely necessary is legalized robbery. Now, 36 years of age, I have become an active follower of the direction provided by our leaders in Washington, D.C. I have called and written officials in a respectful manner to present perspective on various issues of legislation without even a hint of response. It saddens me that many of our representatives today must not look for wisdom in the words of former presidents like Grover Cleveland, who rightly observed, "A government for the people must depend for its success on the intelligence, the morality, the justice, and the interest of the people themselves." Beyond then the excessive governmental spending, the aggressive attempts to pass legislation without providing a clear proposal to the American people and listening to their voices, concerns me perhaps even more. It concerns me that our governmental officials have forgotten that our government was, according to Daniel Webster, made for the people, made by the people, and answerable to the people. I mean no disrespect to anyone. I simply wish to remind officials in our nation's capital that they should strive to lead rightly. They should strive to lead with humility, with personal integrity, and with fiscal discipline. In President John F. Kennedy's words, they should not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. So, as to health care reform, I urge everyone to closely listen to the voices at town hall meetings. Most of the questions and most of the venom do not come from people with actual knowledge of what is even in the health care legislation. Most of their frustration stems from the fact that they fear government is growing too big without accountability. The lack of accountability seems evident by the government's failure to provide any real transparency or clarity about key issues in proposed health care reform legislation. Leaders in Washington, show the voters a bill that makes sense, and then have public discourse with knowledgeable men and women within the medical profession about your proposal. After all, two sides standing across different ideological divides, hurling rocks, will accomplish nothing productive.